was living in my apartment for about 3 years and was being harassed by the building manager over very silly, petty things that I had to move for breaking rules that weren't really rules. Homelessness was a very frightening situation. I felt very powerless and helpless.
Nunny was one of my HJP clients, and Nunny came to HJP because the Housing Authority of Grant County was attempting to terminate her tenancy for alleged lease violations, and this particular lease violation was for her not having her service animal, which was her cat that she loved dearly, not having her cat on a leash, which seems very absurd. So they were attempting to terminate her tenancy, and this was last year, and Nunny lived, I believe, in the same apartment community for maybe 3 or 4 years at this point. So the goal was to make sure we preserved her housing.
Other than just being homeless on the street, and to be honest, my physical health, not to mention my mental health, seriously, simply could not handle that. I would not survive that. Northwest Justice Project gave me representation and information I would not have had otherwise, and let me know that I had rights, and I did have the ability to push back on these charges and challenge them in a hearing.
She was able to represent herself, and she used just the information that we gave her, and things that were said in our notices and our letter in response to the notice from the Housing Authority, and ultimately she was able to save her housing.
I became a Social Security recipient, and then again in 2012 my mom had passed away, and she in her will had left me her home, and for a while I was able to get by on the property taxes, and then they started to pile up, and I received my first letter from the county the assessor's office that it told me that the property would be foreclosed on if I wasn't able to bring it current. The thought of having something like that go in that way was just really hard to take.
In his case, there was a legal complexity in that there was both the real property, the land, and there was also a manufactured home. And when he inherited the property, those two pieces were titled differently, and the home was not titled in his name. And that was a problem because since he didn't have title, he was not eligible to get those property tax benefits for the home. And for clients who don't qualify, they are at risk of property tax foreclosure in the 4th year that they get behind in their property taxes. And that was Anthony's situation.
Once I talked to the person that was going to handle my case, Chelsea Hicks, she kind of put my mind at ease, let me know that it wasn't as imminent as they made it sound, and they had actually withheld some information from me on some programs that I was eligible for. Chelsea let me know that there were things that I could, that I could do that assured me that we'd be able to get this done, and that, I wouldn't, in fact, lose the property.
The final outcome was that he was able to avoid property tax foreclosure of his home. And that was so important to him because this is the home where he lived for a long time. He had inherited the home and the property from his mother, and he actually lived there with an adult child and a grandchild. And so loss of this home would have been certainly the loss of the home for him, but also the loss of the home for his family members. And by being able to secure these property tax benefits, it removed him from the foreclosure list, and he won't be at risk of property tax foreclosure as long as he remains eligible for these programs.
I would just like to thank Chelsea and the Northwest Justice Project. They, I just can't say it enough. I just absolutely had no idea what was going on. I knew what was coming, but I had no idea what to do about it.
being a person who's from a low income background and a person who's a person of color, I just think that NJP help people on a daily basis who otherwise would not get help. And the more resources we have, the more we can make a difference. And we need as much help we can get. And I think individuals who are willing to help are those who support our cause, support what we do, and they want to see the best for our clients. And ultimately, NJP, we're there to like bridge that gap, and we need more help bridging the gap.
NJP's work in this case and in other cases like this involving housing not only impact our particular client by saving their home, by stabilizing their health and the other things that stem from that, it really positively impacts not only the client, but the entire community in which the client lives.
Without Northwest Justice, I would not have known that I was being abused. Without Northwest Justice support, I would be homeless without anything. I feel that Northwest Justice provides an extremely powerful and needed support to people of our community, because everyone deserves to be treated equally, deserves to have legal representation. Bottom line, needs to be treated with respect and the truth, and respect for the truth.